Collective narcissism. How conspiracy theories are making us selfish. Why do you believe what you believe? Is it because you've been presented with a series of undeniable facts? Or have you naively bought into a fantasy story, a fairy tale concocted by others in an attempt to sell you something you'd otherwise reject? This is nothing to be ashamed of, as it happens to the best of us. But with fake news and alternative facts never more popular, it is pertinent to ask why this way of thinking has suddenly become so mainstream. According to psychologists, cases of narcissism have risen across the world, and this is in direct correlation to the increase in popularity of conspiracy theories, with the result being a damaging state of collective narcissism, working to make the world more selfish than it ever has been before. Narcissism. A narcissist worships himself to an absurd degree. They're extremely selfish and self-centered, possessing an impenetrable level of self-confidence in their talent and abilities. But like all personality types, narcissism comes on a scale. Low-level narcissists appear merely charming, as if they spent one too many skill points on their charisma. At the other end of the spectrum, you have full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. People so self-important, they are willing to manipulate others and concoct wild fantasies to retain their inflated self-belief. Famous fictional narcissists range from the likes of Sterling Archer, Sheldon Cooper, and Bender-Bending Rodriguez through to more extreme examples like Cersei Lannister, Tony Soprano, and the entire cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Damn, now I know why I love that show so much. As we've just demonstrated, narcissists often are portrayed through the media in a negative light. Yet many influential personalities and leaders throughout history are thought to have been narcissistic, including Alexander of Macedon and Napoleon Bonaparte. I guess the desire to conquer nations is kind of a given for these people. Furthermore, recent studies have shown that narcissists are capable of more empathy than previously thought, with Dr. Hepper of Surrey University discovering that concern for others can be prompted in even the most self-centered individuals if certain conditions are met. Published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, Dr. Hepper's study placed narcissists and non-narcissists in different situations to test their empathetic responses, instructing some to forcibly empathize and others to merely think about the situation at hand. When the results were analyzed, it was clear that narcissists could be directed towards empathy, with Dr. Hepper quoted as saying, "When we put ourselves in another person's shoes and imagine a situation from their point of view, we actually process that situation using the same parts of the brain that we use to process our own experiences." Dr. Hepper's study also revealed that narcissism has been increasing across different cultures around the world for the past 3 decades. This is dangerous, since narcissists tend to use more than their fair share of resources, are more prone to aggressive or antisocial behavior, and are more likely to commit crimes and go to prison. But that's not all. Because according to another study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology, American collective narcissists are also more likely to believe in conspiracy theories and to have voted for President Donald J. Trump. Oh dear, are we really going there? Here goes nothing. Collective narcissism. The term collective narcissism describes a group of people who hold an inflated view of their faction above all others. Rather than an individual believing themselves to be better than their peers, they instead identify as part of a group which feels it is collectively better than others. When I just defined this term, I'd be interested to know which group you thought of first. Vegans? Apple fanboys? Liberals? Conservatives? Those people who use the stairs when there's a perfectly good escalator waiting right there? Oh, look at me, I can use my legs. Hey buddy, we see you at the top panting away. You're fooling no one. The truth is, collective narcissism can be applied to overzealous members of any movement, be it political, social, or technological. The worthiness of certain ideologies is often overshadowed by its loudest and most angry proponents, since they are typically the ones with the least interesting things to say. But collective narcissism isn't just about feeling that you're better than other groups. It also requires you to demand special treatment. And according to one psychologist, this affliction often rears its ugly head in times of social hardship. Agnieszka Golec-Dusovala is a senior lecturer in psychology at Goldsmiths, London, and she's been writing about collective narcissism for over a decade. She outlined her concerns about this rise in her 2009 paper, Collective Narcissism and Its Social Consequences, noting its tendency to appear when the public or certain groups have low self-esteem. This negative perception of the self leads in turn to perceived threats from groups outside of those populated by collective narcissists, with a fondness for military intervention, right-wing authoritarianism, and blind patriotism the resulting symptoms. Regardless of your political affiliations, this assessment seems to make a lot of sense. If you fear your nation, identity, or ideology is under attack, the obvious thing to do is close ranks and lash out at those you believe to be harmful, be you a radical feminist, hardline conservative, or someone who believes that geese are only pretending to be angry to keep us from discovering their hidden agenda. Spoiler alert, geese are planning a squirrel genocide. The problem is, this feeling can be triggered whether these perceived attacks are real or not. And with the advent of social media and 24-hour news, unfounded conspiracy theories are now easily spread by those with the means and motive to do so. Conspiracy theories. Let's get an awkward little truth out of the way first, shall we? If this channel started to criticize conspiracy theorists, well, it would be a massive self-own. We've dined out on all sorts of weird and wacky conspiracies over the years, from tales of alien visitors and Bilderberg lunatics, through to alien civilizations and mysterious, unidentified objects. Heck, at one point we even asked you to consider the possibility that Stevie Wonder isn't blind. Yep, we actually did that. I don't know how we even sleep at night. Now, we're not saying for a minute that some conspiracy theories aren't fun. The one about Finland being a made-up country is damn well hilarious. But when such stories are used to deceive the public and allow politicians to drastically alter their lives, well, that's when we need to get serious. You'll notice we've taken a slight change in tone on this channel as a result of this realization, because in recent years, certain groups have begun to use invented conspiracies as an automatic response to things they don't like. Ms. Golec-Dusovala of Goldsmiths published an update to her study of collective narcissism earlier this year, which noted how political campaigns that use conspiracy theories to mobilize the electorate are most likely to resonate with collective narcissists. The most obvious example of this in play was the 2016 American presidential campaign, where collective narcissists were inspired to close ranks and draw strength from the constant stream of conspiracies pumped out by the Donald Trump campaign. A separate study by the same authors found that collective narcissism was the second strongest predictor of someone voting for Trump, with a leaning towards republicanism coming in first. Now, as we've already said, narcissism isn't an entirely negative trait. If some people in groups didn't believe they were right, well, nobody would ever lead us or fight for anything. And even if the right is afflicted with the negative traits of collective narcissism, the left is hardly squeaky clean either. Painting all Trump supporters as racist isn't in keeping with their ideals of equality and empathy. And the liberal tendency to indulge in gatekeeping of social issues makes a lot of decent and honest left-wing movements almost impenetrable to the common people. But at this moment in time, collective narcissism seems to underpin a great many movements around the world. China's president, Xi Jinping, has been accused of puffing out his nation's chest by raking up past injustices towards the Chinese, as they bid to become the dominant force on the world stage. And in Britain, the Brexit movement to leave the European Union tried to placate concerns about potential financial instability by overstating Britain's place in the world and its ability to forge its own path. Conspiracy theories played a major part in both of these situations, as well as the 2016 presidential election. And Ms. Golec-Dusovala believes that these alternative explanations appeal to collective narcissists as they explain why their movement is not accepted by the mainstream, despite the fact it most certainly is. Conspiracies make it seem as if their movement is so groundbreaking and revolutionary that shadowy forces are seeking to undermine it in clandestine ways, even though they've often had major media outlets supporting them. Conspiracies also rely on non-committal vagueness to dismiss mainstream ideas. This is irrational. If you don't believe in the accepted explanation of how something occurred, then that's fine. But in the face of conflicting evidence, surely the onus is on you to prove otherwise. Collective narcissism prevents us from ever having to do this. It helps struggling, middle-class families avoid being resentful towards Donald Trump's wealth, with his financial excess symbolizing the strength, superiority, and economic success those voters believe America should possess. And in the UK, tales of secret media bias and meddling from the elite has been used to explain why socialist leader Jeremy Corbyn often receives a rough time from the press, when the truth is he's simply a principled man who has his failings and is nowhere near devious enough to convince his detractors. As voters and citizens, we deserve more than this. But we must hold ourselves and our own ideas to account before looking elsewhere. Regardless of your political affiliation, we cannot allow ourselves to believe elites are always looking to undermine our movement, when the truth is we undermine our own beliefs by failing to acknowledge some harsh truths. Our continued avoidance of this responsibility means we risk slumping further towards a world of total collective narcissism. A world where the truth matters less than your ability to argue on behalf of lies. So, how can we improve ourselves in this regard? Well, we're going to consider a few counter-conspiracy strategies over on our Patreon channel at patreon.com/strangemysteries. With our bonus video, Rational Empathy, a permanent cure for conspiracy theories, which you can watch on our Patreon page at patreon.com/strangemysteries. For a $2 a month pledge, which you can cancel at any time, you'll get to watch this and all of our bonus content, which goes deeper and darker into every topic than YouTube allows. If you don't want to donate, then that's bullshit.
We know you wanted more. Strange Mysteries on YouTube and our Patreon bonus videos weren't enough to quench your search for truth, to give you that sense of awe and wonder again, to go past what you thought was the end, to give you the answers you seek, but which only lead to more questions. That's why we just upped the stakes. Chemicals of reality. Reality, consciousness, brains. What else is there? Ask yourself that question. Perhaps that's all there really is, but perhaps everything else is found within a place where these ideas, these things, overlap. Some thing, some place that is undefinable. To many people, altering certain chemicals in their brains produces what they would simply call hallucinations. In fact, what we're going to discuss specifically used to be called the businessman's trip, as one could enjoy it. Come down and put your pants back on in the time it takes to eat lunch. It wasn't taken seriously, well, unless of course you started digging. And some people, including us, did. Already though, to many people, this chemical is special amongst others. Very special. To them, it represents something more meaningful and incredible, as if it's the gateway to the next level of consciousness. The ticket to a higher reality barely explored by most humans. It is the entry point to a new reality, visited by only a select few, whose minds have become enlightened through the use of this exotic substance. For this reason, it's commonly referred to as the spirit molecule. But is its reputation as a mystical mind opener deserved? Or is it, and everything it represents, just a load of bullshit? We look at, investigate, and dive deeply into nearly all available research regarding this question, from nearly every angle feasible. And in the course of doing so, stumble upon unexplainable patterns, correlations, and neurological evidence for a reality existing beyond this one. Watch this hour-long Strange Mysteries premium video, Chemicals of Reality, as well as many more to come by becoming an elite premium member of our Patreon at patreon.com/strangemysteries.